So with this bowl, what I'm going to attempt to do here is actually make 7 variations on the rims to show different ways that you can just make a bowl a little bit more than just a regular bowl just by adjusting the rim. The first thing I'm going to do is that you can actually texture the rim using just a regular dowel. Now you can do this when the pot is leather hard, or you can do it right now. Just have a dowel here and kind of tap. Now if you see here real close, this is why it might be better to do this while it's leather hard. But I guess you can see that it does leave marks there as opposed to just leaving the texture. So one way to prevent this is if the pot is a little bit drier, it might prevent that. But you can also just slide a little bit and it tends to get rid of some of those. So you can do this in a lot of different ways. You can do it all in one direction to make more of a consistent pattern, or you can kind of change it up by having multiple directions, kind of moving it as you go. And what this does is it gives kind of a beaten, changed look to the bowl that again just varies it a little bit from the original. But what I'm going to show you is just basically taking the bowl and making this lip here a little bit more upright and defined. Let me show you how that would be done. And I'm going to do it with the texture on there, but obviously that wouldn't be the case in most cases. What I'll do is I'm putting my fingers like this and kind of pushing the lip of the bowl in. So what that does is change the bowl shape slightly so that you've got about 1 inch of the bowl that's now completely upright. And that's what we're going for. And I'll just use the wooden tool here because it'll make more of a dramatic mark. And now, because I have it kind of turning at a point, I'm going to mark that point pretty clearly using the wooden knife tool. And this can be done at this point in the throwing, or it can also be done when the bowl is leather hard. You can make a mark in it. So with this, let's just clean that up a bit. I'm just basically changing the shape of the bowl, and I don't like that. It's not showing up enough. And you're marking where that joint is. So it's got a defined line and almost like a 1 inch lip now on that bowl, or a 1 inch kind of line around that bowl. Some of the things that I've done with this is to leave that top part smooth and then do chattering on the bottom half of the bowl, and that gives it a very distinct line between chattered and unchattered. So if you are doing some kind of texture pattern, having that line is really nice. The next modification to a bowl that I'm going to do is actually the complete opposite of having the top be up, and this is flaring it out. To do that, you can kind of see that I'm supporting on the outside and pushing it out kind of like this. You can do it with 2 fingers, or you can use one hand underneath the other, and you flare it out. There are some limitations to this. You can make it flared so much that it actually collapses, and if that's the case, if you want it to be a really dramatic flare out, what you can do is wait until the clay is a little bit more dry, or use a rib tool to kind of clear off some of the water and then let it dry a little bit more, so that you then get this flared look. This is a very subtle flare that you see here, only about, what, 3/4 of an inch from here to here, but you could flare it a lot more than that, giving it a really dramatic kind of lip around the edge there, and then you can paint it or stain it. Paint and stain, back to woodworking. You can glaze it a different color all the way around the outside to kind of emphasize that. And this is a little bit more of an advanced technique, is I'm going to take the rim and I'm actually going to fold it over and underneath to give it kind of a circular ball at the end. So this will take a minute because you have to thin out that lip a little bit more. Alright, and clean up the texturing I did on that lip as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually throw it down. So I'm going to take this, and as the wheel's turning, I'm actually going to press it down, almost like I did with creating that flare, only I'm going to keep going and keep pressing it over until it forms a connection back with itself. Dry there. I'm using kind of dry clay for this because I know I'm going to try 7 different variants, and if I started with wet clay, it would not work out well. The bowls would just fall apart. Alright. One thing to note when you are doing this, and I'll show a picture of this from the side, when you are doing a lip like this, you want to make sure to not capture any air inside there. So we are kind of squeezing as I go so that this clay is like rolling up really tight, and you end up with a nice solid lip around the outside there. For the last 3 variants on the rim, I'm going to show you something, and this is being released in February, so this is pretty appropriate. This is how to make a heart-shaped bowl. And this same technique we're going to use for the next 3 variants. To make a heart-shaped bowl, what you'll begin with is putting 2 fingers, index finger and thumb, on the outside rim of the bowl, and bring your other finger in between and kind of pull like this. Okay? What that is giving is a bit of a lip, and that's what we're going to use. Let me spin that around so you can kind of see that. So I've got a lip on that side, and I'm actually going to create a similar lip on this side here. And this is how you make a heart-shaped bowl. What we do to make it a little bit more heart-shaped is then we would press in on the sides here, right, to emphasize, and this bowl is getting a little bit wet, but that's all right. But you can see we have nice straight edges here, and we get ourselves a heart-shaped bowl. You can also make this a little bit sharper by using a wooden knife tool at the middle and kind of pull in like this to try and make it just a little bit sharper there. It also works a little bit better when you don't have that rolled over rim of what I was showing earlier. But there we go, heart-shaped bowl. The next variation is using this same method here, where we have lips. But what I'm going to do is actually take my heart-shaped one and put it the reverse direction. So you see how you have lips kind of going out the other way. You can make as many of these little spouts, I should say, not lips. You can make as many of these spouts as you want. I like to start making them kind of in patterns as you go. But you could actually have, and I'll show some pictures of bowls where I have the entire outside is made up of these spouts going outward. That's a way that you can vary up the look of a bowl. It's also excellent. You can have one. I have some bowl where I just made one, and it's like a spoon holder almost. It's very functional use. You set the spoon in there. You can also use it to pour. We have a really small one that we use often for melting butter. The final variation I'm going to show you is actually starts like this. And then instead of making your little spouts go outward, you'll alternate and make some come inward. To do that, again, you set your index finger and your thumb on the inside and pull in like this. So that gives kind of a funky look to it. When you've done that, and it is nice to have your fingers a little bit wet so that you can kind of slide back and forth as you do this. There we go. It makes almost a flower shape, which is really cool. And you think about where we came from with our original bowl and how different. I did all 7 to the same bowl. But I will show some pictures of different products I've made like this where it's just a cool flower shape. So you can play with that. You can make them alternating. You can make some inside, some outside. You can make all inward. You can make all outward, all the way around the outside. You can do a lot of fun things to make a bowl a little bit more just by adjusting the rim. I hope that video was helpful for you with 7 variants on bowl rims that helps to make a normal bowl something extraordinary. Hope that video was fun and helpful for you. Have a wonderful day.